space, final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim. Joining me, of course, is Admiral Elliot.
And I still hate you.
And Dr. Screen.
And I hope you're blue too. I think that's from the original. Hi, guys.
Yeah. So, well, let's just start off by talking about the punk then. How awesome. I mean,
what a great Easter egg.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely brilliant.
What I love about it, it's just the right amount that, like, if it was any more bullshit, because let's face it, it's bullshit. The same guy would be on a bus, blah, 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 all bullshit, but I don't give a shit. It's perfect fan service. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just a fun moment. If you don't know, you don't have to know. Perfect.
Yeah.
And
yeah, if you didn't get it, it don't matter.
No, but it just got better and better. Like, as soon as you heard the music, I was like, oh, that sounds like the original, but the lyrics are different. And then you see the guy and you're like, oh, this is even better. And then she tells him to shut up and you're like, oh, see what they're doing. And then he feels his neck and you're like, oh, my God. And then he shuts up and you're just perfect.
It's the way he delivers the line as well. Oh, all right, I'm sorry. Okay, that was rude of me. Okay.
Yeah.
Just like the song is all.
Yeah, he's obviously been a victim of time travel in the past.
Yeah.
But not necessarily from the voyage home.
No, me and Elliot were talking about this earlier on in the week because obviously we're going to get into this in this episode.
Should we address the elephant in the room straight up?
Let's do it. Well, first of all, for anyone who's from that introduction has not got that we're talking about Picard Season 2, Episode 4, Watcher, that's what we're talking about. And yeah, let's deal with the elephant in the room because there's been a lot of online discourse about this. Everybody's talking about, well, why doesn't Guinan remember Picard? And we have had the answer from the showrunners, which we're going to talk about in a second. Unfortunately, the answer from the showrunners slightly contradicts that brilliant scene with the punk, unless you have an explanation, which me and Elliot have come up with. So we're going to...
Oh, so I get it. So yeah, so the exclamation which Elliot put my way when I asked about it doesn't make sense if the punk remembers.
Yes.
Because the other.
Yes.
I've got a pitch for that, but go on. Elliot was the one who kind of like.
Elliot, first of all, why doesn't Picard remember? Why doesn't Guinan remember Picard, Elliot?
Because the events of Time's Arrow didn't happen because they've come back from a future, a changed future. Where there wasn't a federation, so they never went on the Mercy mission for the events of Time's Arrow to happen, where they went back in time and he'd meet Guinan.
Which is perfect. And for anyone who was like me, a little bit slow, just to spell it out, that means if that future doesn't happen, that past where she meets Picard doesn't happen either. So it affects the past as well as the future. That's why the past can be changed as well as the future, which it usually wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Even though we're before the point of divergence, because they've not fixed it yet.
Picard hasn't gone back in time.
Diverge. Yes. So we're happy with that. However, that creates the problem of why does the punk act like he met Spock? And me and Elliot think we've got an answer. So Elliot, why does the punk feel his neck?
So what we think, back in 1986, we still had this Kirk still went back to the past because the whale probe event still happened. They still needed to bring some whales forward, but it didn't have Spock with him because the Confederacy never joined up with the Vulcans. It was just like really hard humans. So the punk holds his neck because he's been a victim of some Kirk foo. Yeah. And that's why he remembers pain from it.
See, that's not bad.
And not a gentle Vulcan neck pinch that just knocks you out.
Yeah.
My other pitch would be just a slight tweak on that. It kind of goes along the same lines because I was thinking the Empire and the evil timeline and all that. But my pitch is this: because the Federation, the Confederation, I don't think would care that much about science as much as the Federation does. So I'm going to pitch that it was actually Spock which went back, but Spock's had his kind of It's either one of two things. Either Spock's had his come to Jesus moment a bit similar to Mirror Mirror, or you've got evil Spock. How much would he have fucked him up? No wonder he's feeling his neck. He's going, for Christ's sake, the guy nearly killed. It was a wonder by medical science that I survived what he did to me.
I don't think it'd be Spock, because if you've got the Confederacy that's already out there attacking all the other alien worlds and that, why would a Vulcan want to go back to save the humans?
But you see, I think they weren't going back to save the humans. They just realized through their scientific research, which the Confederation, as I say, I'm kind of picturing them a bit like the Dark Timeline. They don't care as much about science and that kind of thing. They're just about murder weapons. I'm going to guess that the Vulcans did care, and they were able to track what the source of the signal was, much like Spock did, or Spock himself. And that's why they sent someone back to Earth, even though they don't care about humans necessarily. They just wanted the whales.
Maybe, but then if
an evil Spock fucked him up.
But if there was an evil empire and suddenly this whale probe turns up to destroy their home world, you'd be like, you know what, let them get on with it.
Yeah,
but if wasn't it ripping you through the universe, destroying other ones?
No, it just went after
it. Just went straight to Earth.
I thought it destroyed a few others.
Sort of any ship that got close was disrupted, lost its power for a time, but.
Again, though, I would pitch that the Vulcans would be savvy enough to go. It's like, what if they're messing them up? What if they come for us next?
I'm going. General Kirk went back in time, and he probably didn't do any of this. Wooing the whale person and taking him nicely. He probably just went and blew up the ocean and stole the whales. But
he got on the bus. This punk was carrying on, and was a victim of a bit of Kirk foo. And that's why he's holding his neck like as if he's been in pain.
I'll accept it as long as Chekhov, when he was caught in the Alameda base, said nuclear weapons, bitch, and shot someone. As long as that happened,
it would have been absolutely vicious. That'll have just been a raid on that base to get the nuclear vessels. They'll have just gone down, phasers blaring, killed everybody.
Yeah. Okay, I'm liking it still.
So that's where we're going. Anyway, now we've addressed that, then we can talk about the rest of the episode. Now, I mean, it's getting a little bit boring, and every week we're having an awesome episode of Picard, and we're just.
I was going to say, if you're saying this episode is boring, then I'm off. I'm sorry. I'm just going to have
to. As critics, it don't give us a lot to work with. Does
I
it?
have a couple of problems with this episode.
Okay, well,
I've got a few minor ones.
I've got one right off the gate, and it's nothing to do with the episode, and it's something that New Trek has been quite bad with, is giving stuff away either in the recap or in the credits. And the recap showed the scene with Laris and Picard, and I thought, hang on, why have they dropped that in the recap unless Laris is going to be in this episode? And it's probably only if you watch a lot of TV and you pick up on things like this. But when they do a recap and they show a bit with a character we haven't seen in a while, that is shorthand for this character's coming back, so you've got to remember who it is. And I think that detracted a bit from the end, but that's presumably an editor's decision somewhere, not the people who've written this episode.
See, I didn't really spot that. I just assumed they were going to reference something they talked about, but yeah.
No,
I can see.
My bell.
Yeah, they've done it a couple of times. Like they did it when 7 of 9 came in at the end in season 1, and she was in it right at the end of the episode. They had her name in the titles that week.
Yeah, and they did it with Riker in the season finale as well.
Yeah,
because we started fast forwarding the credits in season 1 once we picked up on the fact that they were doing this. Because I don't want it spoiling.
Yeah, don't want.
I mean, if you didn't want season 1 spoiled, you should have just FF through it. But that's just my take.
Very good. I mean, season 1 had some good stuff, but ultimately it was very distracting.
Yeah, it was a tight hour crammed into 10 episodes, however many it was.
Maybe so. Yes, so this episode then, again, we're picking up right where we left off. It's got such a sense of momentum this season, but it doesn't feel like we're dragging it out.
Yeah.
Like, I know one of our big complaints about Discovery was they took forever to get from point A to point B, whereas this, we're not actually moving that far, but we're packing so much incident into the episode that it doesn't matter that this episode only covers a couple of hours.
That's what the problem with Discovery was. Like, it was maybe drawing out its story to the season length, but it had no filler in the episodes that it was dragging out.
And this is just the momentum's incredible. Like, we pick up straight away with Seven and Raffi looking for Rios, and there's the stuff about the ice and everyone have detained him. Now, shall we take this opportunity to talk about the other big elephant in the room, which is the utterly baffling response to this episode from the more right wing?
Yeah. Tag me in. I couldn't wait to talk about this because, first of all, I'm sick and tired of this left wing in Star Trek. I mean, first of all, you see the Borg in this series. What are they in? They're in a giant snowflake. Doesn't that tell you something? No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to go on that particular rant. Although, actually, by the way, while we're talking about that, why a kind of snowflake design? It's like, if it's to piss off the right wingers, I'm fine with that. But the Borg always liked the fact they had practical, like behind me, the square ship and the round ship, and it was all kind of very practical shapes. It's no aesthetics. But anyway, that's another story.
I don't want to be cynical, but to sell more toys.
Yeah, I mean, at least a triangle would have been more practical. I just like the fact the Borg Roar is like, no, this is a big shape in space. Nothing pretty about it. That seemed very Borg to me. But anyway, that's another thing. I just did think about the snowflake thing when I was watching this, and it made me laugh. So anyway, that's that joke.
If that's on purpose, that's brilliant.
Yeah. But when they get into this, I don't know what the argument is. Because A, Star Trek has always pushed an agenda of being progressive towards race and all this.
Yeah.
B, the stuff which they're talking about with ice nothing's made up. Nothing's fictional. No. If you think that's a good thing that they do that, what's your problem? Like, obviously they're painting in bad light, but from stuff they do, it's not like painting it in bad light by making stuff up. If you think it's wrong what they're showing and you don't like it, it's what's happening.
Well, yeah, but their argument, the argument I've seen multiple times over this last week online is they're portraying ICE as bad people and it's not accurate. And it's like, one, it's meant to be 2 years in the future, so it could have got worse. But what they're portraying here is not far removed, if at all, from what's happening. And if you don't think that's happening, you need to be paying more attention.
I mean, this was basically. Oh, sorry. I am going to get into the politics a little bit, just for a sec. But lots of laws which Trump brought in, which Biden hasn't done anything to get rid of, are this. They just are this. Again, if you believe that's the right thing, you can't shy away when it's shown. And again, Star Trek has always shown inequality amongst races and stuff. And I know we'll get into it a bit, but when Guinan speaks about it, brilliant. Yes, someone who has experienced being on Earth, because I know the argument will be, it's like, oh, well, she's an alien. She's not actually black. It's like, no, she's lived on a planet where she is black and she's treated as if a black person would be on this planet in this time. That's what experience is from. You can say she's an alien all you want, but if you've experienced a species through how they treat someone who happens to have the same skin hue as you, that is your experience then. And it's just bullshit. It's bullshit, any argument against this.
Let's not forget as well, Guinan, unless there's a period where she moved, she's been on the Earth at this point for a few hundred years. So she's experienced worse than this. Far worse than this. So, there's no argument to be made there. As I say, the argument they're making seems to be this is an inaccurate portrayal, which, one, it's not. Two, like you say, Squeak, if you're in support of regimes that do this sort of thing, then it shouldn't upset you to see it being portrayed. And my only sort of level of understanding I can get to, and only way I can try and fathom out how this mindset comes about, is that they just don't like being reminded of the things they are supporting, you know.
They don't like being reminded that they're actually horrible people.
You want to live in a bubble and pretend that voting for Trump doesn't cause shit like this, but I'm sorry, but it does.
Well, they want a scene where you show all the anyone who isn't white, basically. They want a scene where you show them just being, in the words of Trump, rapists and murderers because they're not sending us their best people. They want to show them in the worst possible light, and then show the ICE doing this, so then they can go, see, it's justified. Which, even if they were, the way they handle people, it is like it's two wrongs making a right kind of thing. It's just bullshit.
I mean, if anything, we're not showing kids screaming in cages because they're being separated from the parents here. You know, they could have gone a lot harder on this.
Yeah.
And they haven't. So, you know, let's also, if you want to live in your little bubble and pretend it's all not real, you can pretend that this is purely a Star Trek thing because we've already established the canon that this is what's going on in past tense. However, when they did it in DS9 in past tense, it was a warning of this is what could happen if our worst impulses get borne out. However, we're there now. And
this is only 2 years in the future.
And that's the scary thing.
It's very close.
Between a Star Trek in Deep Space Nine, where they showed a bit in the future, to when it becomes now, it's scary how much came to pass that they predicted. Yeah. And it's like we always talk about all the inventions which came about because of Star Trek, like the communicators, the flip phone. That's directly, literally made that happen. And we don't, fortunately, we haven't previously had to look at the fact that dark predictions by Star Trek coming to pass, whereas the whole idea is it's meant to be a hopeful thing. And I love they even put a line in for Picard in this episode going, progress doesn't usually happen at the speed we would like it to, or he puts it much more eloquently. Yeah. I thought it was a brilliant line. It kind of speaks to our great shame at this coming to pass.
Absolutely. And that's it. It was a warning when past tense did it. It's just a reflection of the times now. And if you don't believe that, fair enough. You need to appraise yourself of what's going on in the world a little bit more. And it's not difficult. Just come away from Fox News for a minute and look at what's going on in the real world.
Can I also throw out, just because in that scene with Reyes in the prison as well, it does speak a bit to this, but again, it's just a classic, great example of season 2, how they flesh him out a lot better. I really love the bit when she goes like, oh, I'm just someone who doesn't know when to stop or whatever. And he goes, where I come from, you'd be called a hero. Little lines like that, I think, make him just such a more interesting, more rounded character. They just wanted to show him being a rogue in the first series, but they didn't show, for me, enough why I cared about him. Here, he is just a lovely guy who is also a bit of a rogue. That's fine. Rogue isn't a complete character, though. You've got to have something behind it why you don't give a shit about this guy.
They're actually building the characters up. They're making you like the characters this season.
Yeah.
Be rooting for the characters.
Yeah.
And so we go to Chateau Picard now, and there's some great...
Well, there's a part before this, and I have a big problem with.
Go on, then.
And it's... just before they go to the chateau,
and
Picard goes, "Oh, it's not a problem. Confederation ships seem to have an upgrade. They've got a cloaking device," and it just goes, "Computer engaged cloaking device." Yeah, no problem. They can't power the sick bay. They can't power the communicators. They struggle to beam out once. Elnor's dead because they didn't have enough power to power a biobed, and now suddenly they can turn on the cloaking device, no problem. Which has been established takes a lot of power.
That's a very good point.
Because the cloaking device on a separate fuse, that's what you're not getting.
Yeah, like the holodecks on Voyager always were. But yeah,
there's only 2 things that I've got big problems with in this episode of how they're done. And one's that they've turned on the cloaking device if it's no problem. If it's got that much power, why couldn't they draw power from the cloaking device to everything else they actually need?
And I mean, I think you've got us there, because a driving force of this episode is we need to get the transporters to work.
Yeah. We need the communicators to work. We haven't got enough power for long range communication.
Maybe
Elnor's dead because we couldn't power a biobed.
Maybe they thought the cloak was such a necessity to protect the timeline. It's the best I've got.
I know it just wasn't right that they could turn on the cloaking device in my mind.
That's fair.
No,
in the situation,
I really argue with that. So, Chateau Picard, then, we get a nice little thing where he talks about how the Picards moved out and went to England, which explains why Picard's got an English accent.
Yeah.
So,
brilliant. Lovely.
Yeah, lovely. What we also get is I don't know if this is going to come into
Although,
play.
sorry, just on that point, he does also mention caretakers who come in from time to time. They're not doing a fucking good job. That looked dusty as hell. Like if caretakers are meant to be coming in, just saying, you might want to get someone new. Fire that person.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You've had over 100 years to clean. Well, just under 100 years to clean up after the Second World War. So but they do make reference to the Nazis occupying it, and there being tunnels below. So I don't know if this is going to come into play, but I would really like it if I did. Let's have Rambo 5 down in the tunnels. One episode. Come on.
They do love layering stuff in this because, like, again, sorry, I know we're going to go on to Guinan in a bit, but even the fact that Guinan laid in a line when she was in the future with Picard, or present, whatever we're calling it, she goes about like de-aging and stuff, like she can look older and younger, which perfectly fits in with. So for anyone who's going, yeah, but in Time's Arrow she was older, so even if they don't go back, then no, she can look younger if she wants to.
Yeah,
boom.
That's it. No, it's very cleverly done.
They're so good at layering any of these little lines in to make things just fit nicely.
We get another flashback to Picard and his mum, and she's helping him overcome fear. This is just sort of trickling along. We're not getting a lot of it. I presume we're building.
Well, it looks like his mother's abused by his dad.
That's the way it looks. Yeah,
because you do get a very, very quick, literally a one frame flash, as if she's been sort of shaken. Or
yes, you do. And we got something similar in the first episode, so it does look like we're going to do something there at some point. But at the minute, they're playing it very slowly, which is fine.
Can I just give a quick shout out because they the record which he plays is Edith Piaf, Nora Gracian, and my dad was a big fan of Edith Piaf. It's the only celebrity which I know for a fact that he had a crush on. He had all the records and stuff, and like I forget if it was him or mum who mentioned this, and just that wasn't my dad at all to talk about that sort of thing. So when I heard that, it did just bring a little tear to my eye. I thought it was very sweet. I mean, obviously they didn't put it in for me or my dad, but it was just a nice touch from me.
No, it's always nice when stuff like that strikes a chord. Absolutely. Juratian and number 15s, and we get this. Oh, you've picked up the 15th thing, and blah 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 blah. And they assume, okay, so it means the time change is going to happen on the 15th. I'm not convinced. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more to this to come later on, and there's a revelation. Oh my God, 15 actually meant.
It's the number of pips he's got in his collar. It's a very wide collar.
It's also
a little bit of a cause effect reference for you there.
I'm actually quite happy that they've tied it down. That it's going to be over in 3 days.
No, I feel like they have for now, but I'm just putting the marker up that if there is a twist further down the line, oh my God, 15 actually meant
15 hours run.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's got another meaning to come. And
maybe
then
a screen name or something. By the way, Jurati, can she stop calling Picard Mr.? It was cute to begin with. It's got very annoying. I think
it's
nice. Yeah, I don't mind her doing that. She's making it quite clear that she's not Federation, and she's sort of calling him that as a mark of affection, and he's taking it that way.
I don't mind it.
Fair enough, just me then.
I did like though when it was being deductive, she said, "Look at you, Dixon Hill."
Yeah, that was.
But you see, what's great about that is it shows that Dixon Hill has got into the popular consciousness to the same extent as something like Sherlock Holmes. It's dropped. As if it's just a general what you say to someone who's been clever, like good thinking Batman or whatever. And I just like it. And obviously there's a deeper meaning if you know Picard's history with Dixon Hill, but
it's just lovely the fact that it takes it from just something that he referenced to everyone knowing it, and
just great writing. The Borg Queen and Jurati, there's still a dynamic going on there. She says Jurati can be cruel, and that they've both felt a connection and everything. So obviously, there's more to come. They sort of almost strike a bit of a Faustian pact by the end of the episode. So,
can I just ask opinions? Like, how are you guys feeling about this version of the Borg Queen? I've got to say, it's fine. I don't dislike it. but it seems more of a function than something I'm excited about, like in the episodes.
Yeah.
I think it's a very unique take on it, isn't it? That she's the only Borg left, though.
Yeah, I like that idea.
And Jurati says that I'm making you think slow to communicate with me.
Yeah,
she's not operating like normal.
I'm enjoying the character and I'm enjoying the way she's being used in the story. The makeup just doesn't seem quite right. I know there's a different actress and everything. She's not slimy enough. You know,
yeah.
I don't know, just aesthetically, there's something about it that it doesn't look quite as convincing as the other Borg Queens, which I know is a weird thing to say when the Borg Queen is such a fantastical creation anyway, but a bit like how in Discovery, like the Orions didn't quite look right with the colour of the makeup.
Yeah, they look too blue.
Yeah.
Too blue and glossy.
Yeah, so maybe it's just that. I don't know. There's just something, that's the only issue I have, is just the look just seems a little bit off to me.
I mean, for me, First Contact, like Alice Krug?
Yeah. I think.
Krieger, however you pronounce her name. Wonderful. I really kind of like, so memorable from that film. In Voyager, yes, some very memorable moments. This version is just like, again, more an engine for a story than the character I'm that excited about when I see it. Like, I don't go, she's on screen, yay.
I still think there's going to be a big twist with the Borg Queen.
Oh, I think she's going to step into the limelight as the season goes on. You know, she's not there by accident. So
yeah, at the moment she's still sort of Jurati's cutting her off from ship systems, so she can't power her up. So she's keeping her on low power, and she can't get around or anything. She's just stuck there at the moment.
Maybe playing the long game, like she's setting up her pieces on the board. I don't know.
It's like when she said oh God, I'm going to forget it now, but she said like something was an anagram for something else. Jurati calls her on it. She goes, "Oh, it's poetry though." No, that's just dumb. No, you're a Borg Queen. You should be able to do an anagram.
I quite like that it's poetry.
I don't know. Is it poetry though? It just seems like an
anagram. I quite liked it where she called it, because she's obviously drawing on the fact that she's got the knowledge of thousands of species. And some species probably do think like that when they do.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean,
again, I'm never bothered when she's on screen. I'm just not that excited.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, she's one of the lesser elements, I suppose, so far. But I do feel like there's more to come.
They've got her there for more than just to make them go forward and backwards in time.
Exactly.
And make a transporter work.
They could
when she isn't hooked into the ceiling fan, it'll be a bit more dynamic.
Yeah, they could have found a plot device to get them back to the past without it being a Borg Queen. So there's definitely
a lot more to come with it, and I have faith in this season.
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
It seems really, really well planned out.
So
look, we have to pick apart on something. As Jim said, it's just too good otherwise.
True. Should we talk about Guinan then? Young Guinan.
Picard beams in. And this is my second gripe with the episode.
Go on.
That he beams into forward lane again, and she's at number 10. And that's a bar in the past. I don't like the idea that 10 forward on the Enterprise was named after a old bar in San Francisco.
Well,
I like to think that a bar in the future, when he went to visit her, she'd found a place on forward lane and called it number 10 because of serving bar at 10 forward. I think it was a little bit cheesy that she had the street and the bar was called the same thing in the past.
I mean, maybe when she was coming on board the Enterprise D, Picard said, "Where do you want to put the bar?" And she was like, "Oh, deck 10 forwards free. That's appropriate."
Yeah, you see, that's the way I saw it. I didn't bump into it.
I just thought it was a little bit cheesy.
It's a little bit convenient. Yeah, I'd take your point.
I thought it was a bit cheesy, that one. I didn't like some things are Easter eggs, and I just thought, no, that was cheesy. And
I mean, it's a mechanic so that you can find it.
It didn't work for me.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, for me, it's a mechanic so he can find it, and they don't have to explain why he can find it, even if it's in a different location.
Yeah, it works on that level, but yeah, it is a bit convenient. Yes, like you say, when you see it in the future, you're like, oh, she's picked that place because that's where she used to work on
Because
the
it's head
Enterprise.
forward, yeah, and it makes sense.
But
Can I also throw in something here? Because just like another great example of my worlds colliding in one episode. I am a huge fan of a podcast called Tell 'em Steve Dave, and also Impractical Jokers, which I know because of Tell 'em Steve Dave. And the one connective tissue between those two things is Brian Q. Quinn, who guest appears in this episode, who takes the dog.
Takes the dog, right?
He's one of the Impractical Jokers. I was so chuffed. It was just, it's like, look, I don't know how to say this without, like, it's not meant in any weird way, but it's like, it was one of the few moments in a long time where I was like, damn it, I wish Nicola was here to mention this too. Like, since we're broken up, you move past things. But like when that moment happened, because we met through our love of Tell 'em Steve Dave, I was like, that's like, this would happen now. Like if this had happened a couple of months ago, I would have had someone to really share this moment with. But anyway, so I just want to throw that in there. It's just a wonderful moment.
Yeah, I mean, I read about that this was a cameo, but I don't know the guy. But while we're talking about the dogs, then, are we assuming this is one of Patrick Stewart's rescue pitbulls?
Yeah, I think it is one of his dogs.
Yeah, and what a lovely dog as well. I mean, I love the way Picard's fussing her and everything. Anyway, I'm a dog person. I enjoy it when a dog's on screen.
I was going to say, I'm not much of a dog person. I've only got 3 of them.
Yeah.
What's everyone's thoughts on Guinan being recast?
I think it's probably the practical solution. You don't
I don't have a problem with it. Like, I know we have de-aging technology for stuff, but I think for the amount of time she was in it, if they tried to de-age Whoopi Goldberg for this, I think it'd have looked stupid.
It's not good enough. The on the TV budget. I mean, even look at the Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. They've got Disney money.
Yeah,
and they can't get it perfect for TV.
I really like the one in the season 2.
It's good, but it's not.
It's good, but it's not. It's still not there.
I quite like that, but you know, Star Trek isn't going to spend that money.
How it looks on screen in this, they made the right choice recasting Guinan.
Oh, to be honest with you, though, they didn't need to even do that because they already laid it in that Guinan can make herself older or younger. So you could have just had old Guinan there. However, I didn't bump into her, and I thought it was really cool, really good actress. That's the thing. Yeah. You had to have someone who was a stone cold great actress, and she matched Whoopi Goldberg, and that's
nailed the role.
Fucking easy.
First of all, like you hear her before you see her, and when you hear her, it could be Whoopi Goldberg. Like she's got the inflection, the vocals, absolutely spot on.
It's perfectly the kind of Chris Pine, like Chris Pine. He was doing a version of Kirk, not doing Shatner. She's doing a version of Guinan, not doing Whoopi Goldberg, but she's got enough of it in there.
I feel like because we're seeing Guinan in a much worse place in terms of her mental attitude at the time. Like here, we're seeing a really despondent Guinan who's angry and upset and disappointed. And I think that edge that she brought to the performance was brilliant. You know, we've not seen Guinan like this before, and it was great to see it.
Yeah.
The only time it's approached it is the interactions she's had with Q, where she's just turned on a dime and all of a sudden becomes this quite scary person who's fending off Q. And to get that a different element to Guinan, I thought was really, really good. And like you say, the actress was fantastic.
I also think just to throw in on that as well, for me, it also gave a perfect moment for Patrick Stewart. Like, again, his acting was really good in the first series, even though I wasn't such a fan of it. But just the way it's written in the second series, I feel more like it's the same Captain Picard we knew, or Admiral Picard, or whatever rank he is. And it's just the first series. I was really looking for him doing his Picard voice. And okay, his voice has changed over the years and stuff, but I was looking for him to do this really Picard-like voice. But he didn't do the voice, and the character didn't quite nail it for me either. So I just felt so removed from Picard. Here, he didn't need the voice for me to know that it was Picard, because just the eloquence of, as I say, when he talks about, progress doesn't happen at the rate we wanted to. And when he talks about these beautiful ideas, there was Picard, and it was just
and you get this sense from him of if Guinan, of all people, like someone who he thinks that fondly of, if even she can be so disheartened by what's going on, you can see how much sadness that brings him.
And you'd feel like she gave him that mission, really. Like she gave him, he was so po-faced when he was younger, and she gave him that kind of hopeful side. I feel like she led into that side of him. And then for him to give it back to her is just a beautiful.
Yeah, it's great.
Mirror.
And I like this introduction they do of when he parrots the words back and you get this idea of time sickness.
Yeah. Perfect.
And that ties into what's going on with Guinan in yesterday's Enterprise, really. I mean, it's not called time sickness, but she knows something's not right. And so, you know, this isn't unprecedented for Elorians. So I really like all of that stuff. Guinan says, and this is another bit that I think's upset the right wing, but what she says, none of this is a lie. She says, the truth is whatever you want it to be. Facts aren't facts anymore. Rich people could fix everything, but they're too scared of having less. And that is absolutely true. I'm sorry. If you don't think it is, then I don't know.
Look at the figures on wealth inequality, how it's grown over the years so vastly. It doesn't take an economist to, well, actually, okay, it does, because that's where I got the figures from. But it does take an economist to work this out. But it is so apparent from that this is true. There's again, it's just facts.
Like our mine and Elliot's local MP put a thing up recently that if we imposed a 10% tax on everyone in the UK who had over 100 million, we would raise 87 billion to put into whatever. So all these people, instead of having 100 million, you could have 90 million, and it would solve so many problems in the world, but we're not going to do it.
And for me also, it's the whole thing of, there used to be a genuine argument, and I actually subscribed to it for a long time, about like there should be balance. Like, you know, you should look to the left wing and the right wing argument, and that's absolutely fine. That was fine for a while until you get to the point of, when do you call Hitler Hitler? When do you call Trump and his policies evil, when he was locking away children, when he was doing this, that, and the other? And again, I will even throw Biden under that bus, because he has done nothing to reverse it or make the situation better.
The reality is that we live in a capitalist society. And capitalism, through its own philosophy, is unsustainable eventually. But it will collapse, because you can't just have the richest keep getting richer and like do a 99.9% in poverty, because at some point there will be an uprising against it.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Putin attacking the Ukraine at the moment. That could have so easily been Trump, you know, declaring war on somewhere, or declaring war on half his own people. Like, that was so within sight of happening. So I don't think it's a left-wing, right-wing thing anymore. It's just evil is evil.
No, that's it. Absolutely. It's right and wrong. And, you know, wherever you put yourself on the political spectrum, you should be able to see that the things Guinan's talking about there, the things that are being portrayed with the ice and everything in this, are wrong. And Star Trek has always been on the side of what's right, not right wing. What's right, what's correct. And if that's a shock to you, then I don't know what you've been watching for the last 55 years. But like, I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, it's gone woke now." Star Trek has always been woke. Star Trek was woke before woke was a word.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of its appeal, you know.
And then you had the right wingers go and say, "Oh, gay kiss." Sorry, not gay kiss. Sorry, a interracial kiss on TV. My God, no, and clutching their pearls and refusing to watch Star Trek and canceling their subscription, and even networks taking it down, refusing to watch the episode. We've been through this particular little fucking dance before, and I'm sorry, I'll take the next waltz. I'm happy to do it. Just
to be fair, though, I mean, apart from the fact that it had the interracial kiss in Plato's Stepchildren, it is not a good episode.
I'm going for the issue on this one.
Season 3 of the original series was not great. It was cancelled for a lot of reasons. Anyway.
Isn't that the one where Chekhov ends up doing a little dance as well?
Little dance. Yeah, it is not not good. But anyway,
Okay, we're not saying that Star Trek hasn't done its own evils, but not on that scale.
not on that scale. No, very true. So, that's Picard and Guinan. Let's get to the car chases. So Raffi and Seven, their storyline's just great. I love how extremely subtly, like we set up in episode 1, their relationship isn't perfect. Raffi wants to maybe be a bit closer, but Seven's away and doing things, and there's a bit of a communication barrier. But instead of sitting them down and going, let's talk about our relationship for 20 minutes, we're putting them in action sequences and having them doing things, and we're gradually seeing the relationship get stronger as they're doing all these things without being told, oh, look, we've resolved our relationship problems. It's just great writing.
Yeah, it's the way people don't argue always.
Like you have Raffi losing a temper and 7 of 9 being the calm one. And
and let's face it, when we have an argument with our loved ones, we don't always say what's on the surface. We sometimes just argue about their driving or something, when what we really mean is, that thing you did earlier really pissed me off. This is a perfect example of how you don't listen to me when you're driving. But it's not about the driving, and that's what makes it so real feeling.
Yeah. And stuff like when she breaks into the car and she disintegrates the window, and then she's like, well, couldn't you have just turned it on? Yeah, that was much more fun.
Yeah.
Like, why have you got a phaser? What? How did that get here?
Yeah.
And I love it when she's about to turn the tables on her. It's like, oh, so you can drive a starship, but you can't drive a...
Yeah.
Well, again, headcanon, but Tom Paris were really into his 20th century cars. He's probably... That's how she's probably learned to drive.
Yeah, he's probably taught them all how to drive on holodeck.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he tried to get fresh with her, and she slapped him.
Yeah.
Because it's Paris.
Oh, I thought that was an Oscars joke. Never mind.
Oh, no. Although, geez, say what you like about, Will Smith and Chris Rock, but that Will Smith, he's obviously got a hair trigger.
Yeah, there you go. Good one. But anyway, we'll move on from that. I'm sure you've heard enough about that over the last week, but it was great though. Great TV. Anyway, the one time I actually wished I'd watched the Oscars live. I mean, not that you can't freely access the clip, but anyway.
There's the thing whereby everyone who I know is in one very stringent camp or another. Either comedians, they could say whatever they like, it's fine, or he slapped him. He's wrong. Like, everyone's just so stringent. So I made that joke about like hair trigger. I put that on Facebook, thinking it's a pun. Who's going to possibly weigh? Everyone weighed in. Made it a serious political. I'm going, it's a pun. It's just a fucking pun. I don't even mention Jada Pinkett Smith. It's not against her. It's about his trigger at her hair. It's like, I thought it was a perfect pun to not offend anyone.
No, I thought it was fine.
What annoys me is that they're making out that it's the worst thing the Oscars has ever done.
Oh,
and
no.
It's not even in the top 10.
I'm going to say, didn't John Wayne try and chin someone or something?
Yeah, and Clint Eastwood.
There's been
they tried to chin a Native American for saying that they should be treated more fairly and equally.
Yeah.
And Clint Eastwood and John Wayne wanted to chin them.
Yeah, there's been all sorts of stuff.
I love the fact this John Wayne and Clint Eastwood. And the first thing they go is like, right, we're going to go at them with our chins. Like, that's their first thought.
Let's get the Indian. Yeah. Not like a bit of typecasting.
We've gone a bit too method, boys. Just because we play cowboys all the time, Anyway. Sorry, I sidetracked us there by talking about that. So Seven and Raffi, all that's loads of great fun. Rios, we've talked about a little bit, but he gets some good scenes in the lockup and everything. And I like the bit where he decides to tell him the truth, which obviously doesn't go down that well.
And again, another little Easter egg where he talks about like explaining strange new worlds and exploring new civilizations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm on an ongoing mission.
They put these in so perfectly that it works with the dialogue, but it's also a cheeky wink. Like, obviously, both the closest to fourth wall breaking is Q, but it just works perfectly.
Yeah, it does. It's really, really good fun. Just a couple of other Easter eggs that we've sort of skirted over, like in the scenes with Picard and Guinan. There's a poster for a boxing match in the background, and it's the same boxing match from City on the Edge of Forever. and there's a barber shop, I think, in the background, and it's the same barber shop, which obviously, okay, it was in the 30s. They're not still going to be there.
Yeah,
but you know
but
what?
it's just
Now
it's just done for Easter eggs, and it's like
No,
Yeah.
the poster is the boxing match is it's in New York,
Yeah.
and it's like, why would in San Francisco in 2024 would you be advertising a boxing match for 1930s
Retro.
I've
in
got
New
it. I've got
York?
it. I've got it. It's because Guinan, again, time sensitive, she knew there was a time anomaly from that time. So she put up those posters from that bar where the time anomaly happened. Elorian, that's why.
Yep, go on. We'll have that.
Oh, fine with that.
Um,
They're just nice little Easter eggs, though, that
Yeah.
they put in the scenery.
Well, it's also that, but I like a good bullshit headcanon every now and again.
Because they use that same poster in, was it, the Voyager one where they come back?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, Future's End.
Unless
Oh,
this
shit,
is
man.
just, maybe
It's a Star Trek prop that they roll out every now and
maybe it's
again.
It's the
And they know
Wilhelm
what
scream
they're
of-
doing. It's
It's
done
the-
deliberately.
It's the Wilhelm scream of Star Trek.
Yeah. It's the sons of the original boxers who've got the same name.
Yeah.
And they're fighting again, and it just goes on and on and on. It's like Creed 2. And then, there's also a reference to Rios being moved to a sanctuary district, which is good because, I mean, it's not good if you get moved to a sanctuary district, but to have it actually acknowledged in dialogue that, we know that this is the same time as the DS9 episode. There are sanctuary districts.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we're consistent with the canon that's been established. Nice. Just very, very good. Going back to the 15, though, Rios is on bus 735, which, if you add them up, 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
See, this is because I used to watch Lost back in the day, and you just spent all your time trying to work out where the bloody numbers were and everything.
yeah, and in bloody Lost, it never paid off. I hope Picard does better.
Oh, the numbers did pay off. The numbers.
No, the whole series didn't, though.
No, the whole series didn't. But there was an explanation for the numbers. I just can't quite remember what.
Oh,
it
was a
was
bunker
now.
where the numbers were there, and then.
Oh no, that was
I thought you were off to say there was an explanation for why the series didn't pay off, and then go JJ.
No, that was just bad writing. No, it was something to do with when Jacob wrote everybody's name down in a cave. He numbered them all, and their numbers were the ones that. Anyway, that's Lost for you. Yeah. What else? I mean, we're moving rapidly towards the end. I just want to call out another line that Guinan says, which is, again, very true, very pertinent, where she says like something along the lines of, the evil hasn't gone, it's just stopped wearing a hood and started wearing a suit, which I thought was an extremely powerful line.
Yeah.
And again, if you want to get upset about it, prove us wrong. Prove that is not the case. If that's not the case, I would love to live in that world where that's not the case. So if that's true, great.
Well, I think the people who are getting upset about it being in Star Trek, and we talked about this through the week, me and James, and it's horrible people who are actually don't like it put in front of them how horrible the things that they believe are.
Yeah, I think so.
People use the term snowflake, which I joked about earlier. They're the most snowflakey, pearl clutching wankers ever.
Oh yeah.
You say about people being being snowflakes. Yet whenever there's any talk about rights for labor, whenever there's talks about kind of things, issues of race, anything like that, it's like, oh no, we can't talk about that. We can't talk about that. It's like, how snowflake is that? Talk about the issues. If you really think that your viewpoint's right, you shouldn't be worried about being faced with the reality of what you bring.
You should be able to back it up with facts and evidence, which the majority of these debates I see, you'll have a lot of facts and evidence from one side, and then other people saying, oh, you've just got an agenda.
See, this the problem is the left are too good at tearing themselves apart. Like, the left will point out anything they don't like, no matter how minute in someone's case, even if it's on their side. The right will go, no, shut up. Any of those facts you bring up, we don't like, shut up. We're just going to ignore those. We're just going to go ahead with our thing. We like our thing. We want America to be white, so we'll ignore
We
everything
have
else.
the fastest vaccine rollout in all of Europe.
But that's not true.
Except
Shut up, not him.
Except for the rest of Europe.
Yeah, except for the rest. Yeah. We have the fastest growing economy in all of Europe. Yes, because our economy sank the lowest. So there's
We haven't actually. We've got the slowest growing economy of any developed country.
Anyway, I think you know what? If we lose listeners after this one, I don't care. We need to talk about this stuff. Let's talk about the Watcher, though. Bit disappointed that it's not Giles or Wesley from Buffy, but we'll get over that. Anthony Stewart Head would have been awesome. So, yeah, we go through all this rigmarole. Picard thinks Guinan's the Watcher. Guinan's not the Watcher. They need to go see the Watcher. And we get the spooky little girl with the funny eyes and the spooky guy with the funny eyes. And we go through this thing of, are you being followed? Blah, 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 blah. And then we get there and it's Laris, but Laris without pointy ears. And she takes him through a magic doorway. And
through a Gary 7 magic doorway.
Do you think it's a Gary 7 magic doorway?
That is where we have seen that before.
Yeah, that's it. This is what I wanted to talk about. That seems to be the theory.
My original pitch was going to be, before we saw who the Watcher was, maybe someone like Wesley or the guy who was he called the Watcher, or what was the guy called? The Traveller.
Yeah.
Traveller Watcher. I think it would have been close enough that you could have got away with something like that. Sometimes we're called the Traveller, sometimes we're called the Watcher. Like maybe something like that.
Yeah.
I think that would have been super fun. Like, Will Wheaton, who wouldn't have loved that?
Yeah, Will Wheaton's got to come back into live action at some point.
But this would have been a really natural. He went off to Ascend, only coming back for his old shipmate's wedding.
Yeah,
in an uncredited part.
See, I think the problem with that is because the Traveller's powers are so ill-defined and Wesley's by extension are so ill-defined, it's a bit too much of a get-out-of-jail-free card. Like, Wesley could pop in now and go, you know what, Picard, I can fix it all. Boom, there you go.
Yeah.
But then you put a limit on it. Like, we don't know what's going to happen.
Obviously, I can't.
Again, I'm jumping ahead a bit, but you've got Q and what we find out with him. Same excuse for them. Like, their power's limited because of what's happening.
Yeah, or you just have the classic Doctor Who, it's a fixed point in time. I can't do anything. But yeah, so Elliot, Gary 7. I mean, that, you know what would be amazing if
Yaris turned out to be the cat.
The cat, I think they would have to rename it because wasn't the cat called Isis? So I think we'd have to rename the cat given real world events since that episode aired, but she could certainly be the same species because it was a very ill-defined alien species that Gary 7's working for.
I don't know. We have is it Rambo 3, Rambo 4, where we have congratulations to our brave friends in the Taliban.
Yeah, Rambo 3. Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, they literally killed off the dog in Downton Abbey because it was called Isis.
Yeah, so I don't think she'll be called Isis, but it could be the same character, same species. Who knows? What I would love, though...
This is my new cat, Sinn Féin. Not better!
Yeah, no. You can't do that. My new cat, Antifa. I mean, we can do this all.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, please do it.
Yeah. So, yeah, if it is...
My new cat, free abortions. No, stop it!
Well, could this be the payoff to the backdoor pilot all them years ago?
I was just going to say, like, how amazing would it be if we end up with an Assignment Earth TV show out of the back of this?
Yeah.
So New Trek will have taken The Cage, which never got a series made, but Strange New Worlds is pretty much The Cage, the series.
Yeah.
And if we end up with a Assignment Earth series as well, well done. I'd be well happy if it turns out that that's what it is, because I love where we take little bits of Star Trek lore that have popped up and then gone, and we do something interesting with them. And I would absolutely love that. Not to decry there is some great books about Gary Seven by Greg Cox mainly. They're fantastic. But if we're going to do a live action,
I just think the way that this episode ended, where how she opened the doorway and they vanished through it, was very much like the Gary Seven. And to leave it there without revealing it's the Gary Seven thing is very in with this season.
I'd also throw in there because I really like the way it seems like, again, they've still got to land everything, so let's not be too hasty. But it seems so far as if everything they laid into Picard Series 2 has fit perfectly.
Yes. Yeah.
And now seeing this, I actually see they've done it much better than Discovery did when they had the donut on the edge for forever. Like when they had the Sea on the Edge forever kind of relic in there. Now that feels like watching that back again. It was fun still. I'm not poo-pooing it. You don't have to knock someone down and build someone else up. However, it wasn't necessary for that episode. It didn't have to be that. Whereas everything in this seems to have to be what it is. Like it's so well layered in that it's the natural extension of what we've seen before of these characters, these ideas, anything. Whereas again, we just fancy throwing in the City on the Edge of Forever here.
And a lot of this as well, like, I'm not saying there were many benefits to the pandemic, but it does feel like the extra time they had to write this and redo the scripts, and it feels like we're getting a really cohesive season here. Right, so the final scene then, Q. So Q's reading the paper. He's trying to influence this lady not to do something. We don't know exactly what it is. We assume it's something to do with this lunar mission or whatever's going on. But he can't. His finger clip doesn't work.
It's how smug he is, sitting back goes like, oh, no, you think you can do it, but you can't do it. Oh, that voice niggling in your head, it's getting louder, isn't it? You know you can't do it. Oh, shit. Yeah, it's just so perfectly set up.
What you don't see, though, is that when his click doesn't work, the camera pans round and Iron Man's actually nicked his power and he does it.
Yeah, but I'm Q. I am Iron.
But that's worrying, isn't it, that what has happened with Q?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's worrying and most unfortunate.
Yeah, and so is he saying it's most unfortunate because I can't prevent a disaster? Or is it most unfortunate because I can't cause a disaster?
Is it maybe that he's done this test on Picard, whatever it is, and he needs his powers just in case to put things right?
Maybe
Picard
so,
fails.
Yeah.
He set something in motion, and now suddenly, shit, I can't actually stop it.
Maybe, yeah.
I just love the idea that it's like, I don't know, it's almost like they dialed up the full impish Q. Like we were seeing full on imp Q enjoying what he does best, fucking with people. And this guy's like, no, you're starting to doubt yourself. Oh, I'm about to click my fingers, aren't I? It's about to bollocks. I mean,
what would be brilliant next episode is if Q now has to search Picard out and go, look, I started this thing. I really need you to fix it now. And just the joy.
I can't fix it. I've messed up. I hope Picard does a Cisco on him at that point.
No, Cisco is now known as a Will Smith. Yeah, so you hope Picard does a Will Smith.
No, that's not Picard. I think Picard more like enjoys. I think this Picard actually. This is one where I would accept growth of Picard being a good excuse from acting a way he wouldn't have done during Next Generation. I want him to fucking enjoy it. After all these years, after Picard's got out of his own way of being po-faced, this is certainly a Picard who can enjoy himself. I would love to if they have a really enjoyable moment. It's like, oh, does the mighty Q need me to help him out? Can you not just do this? Can you not? Yeah.
I would love that. And what I'd love about it is I want Picard to really make Q grovel, but then at the end say, you've known me for how many years? Did you honestly think I wouldn't fix your mistake?
Yeah.
Just then he gets the moral high ground as well.
Exactly. He's got to be, for me, he's got to be a dick throughout the scene, but at the end, he's got to, like you say, but of course I would have done it anyway. It's the right thing to do. I was just having a bit of fun for once at your expense,
Yeah. Did you guys notice what center it was that she was coming out of in the background?
Yes, the Roy Kirk.
Yeah, the Jackson Roy Kirk Center, which, if you go back to the TOS episode, The Changeling, Jackson Roy Kirk was the person who made the Changeling probe.
Yeah,
so again, I don't know if this is going to tie into the story or whether it's just a nice.
I think it's meant to be the same person.
Yeah, like I do wonder. Again, are we going to somehow tie this back to this weird species that didn't like artificial intelligence that we saw in season 1? Like, I would really like to retroactively give them a purpose for being in the Star Trek universe. And now that we're dealing potentially with AI by bringing up Jackson Roy Kirk, there is an opportunity to do that. And I'm also equally happy if they just ignore it and forget about it. But it would be nice.
It's one of the. I think it was a very disappointing season finale with them.
In
the
that
build
respect,
up to,
yeah, because
the build up to what they were, to how it ended, to how they beat them so easy, and it was almost so quick. It was sort of like
there's such a threat to the galaxy that the Romulans have developed practically a religion built around defeating them, and then they just go away.
It's over in a couple of minutes.
There's also a Jackson Roy Kirk STD clinic because even back then the Kirks were arch Bushmen. Like they screwed their way around Earth before they were screwing their way around the galaxy.
Yeah, that would not surprise me whatsoever. So yeah, I mean, lots of questions thrown up, but like you said, I think these 4 episodes have earned our confidence that we're gonna get answers to questions. It doesn't feel like season 1 where we're just adding more and more and more questions to the list and being like, hopefully.
No, this feels like it's moving.
Elliot, can I also ask, because you brought up last week, would this Q appearance be the amount of episodes that IMDb was saying that he'd be in?
No,
they said 6.
2 more.
Oh, 2 more.
They said 6 in total.
That's got to be bullshit.
We'll have to check if that's been updated.
Yeah.
Because
in fact, I'm quite sure that he was in interviews at times saying that he's in 6. In 6,
he said he was in season 3.
Yeah, that is in 6 episodes altogether over the 2 seasons.
Unless he was talking about like filming blocks, because they tend to film 2 in each block.
Yeah.
So if he was in 6 filming blocks, that'd equate to 12 episodes. And for anyone who's not on the video feed, Dr. Squeeze just brought a dog. So there we go. That's
it's Ensign Benny.
Ensign Benny. Yeah, sorry. You've lost me now that we've got a dog. And anyway, I think we're about done with this episode, aren't we?
Yeah, another really fun episode.
Yeah, really good.
And it's another one that went by really quickly watching it, which is always... You know that you've got really good quality TV when you don't feel it's dragging.
Yeah, I'm getting at the minute. There's sort of a sense of dread keeps in when you're like, I feel like we're nearly at the 40-minute mark. This is going to finish, and I don't want it to. I want more of it this week. So
and also, like I rarely just time wise, I don't usually get around to it. But I rewatched this episode today, and given that it's a chunk of a wider story, still held up insanely well as just 15 minutes or an hour of great TV. It's so fun.
That's what's really clever about this season. You can enjoy watching the individual episodes. And we've said, like, Discovery's done 4 seasons, and I doubt if there's a handful of episodes out of the 4 seasons you could go back and enjoy just watching them on their own.
Do you know what? I'd actually just put an argument out for like the last season, not the one which just finished, the one before, when they went to the future. There's some really enjoyable episodes.
I think the way
there are a few.
The way it tends to work with Discovery is the first half of the season, you get some that are like that. But once it goes full on serialized for the end of the season, not so much. But anyway, right then, we'll leave it there for this week. We'll be back to talk more Picard next week as we reach the halfway point of the series. And if you want to get in touch with us, we're on Twitter at RetrekPod, email retrekpod@gmail.com. come and join us on the Facebook group. This will be available as a podcast, also as a video on our YouTube channel. Elliot's got his Retrek Model Studios channel there, where he's still working on Voyager, got some Star Wars stuff going on as well, all sorts of things going on there.
Yeah, I've got a few. I think I've got about 4 projects on the go at the moment.
And Dr. Squee, remind us where we can find the Dr. Squee show.
Well, you can get it from your favorite podcatcher. I am actually starting to catch up with the podcast after a little bit of a hiatus. And also sw20radio.co.uk or on the app. And I'm live every Thursday at 6 p.m. and tomorrow at 6 p.m. on the video version, which if you follow the social media for Dr. Squee, I'm going to be interviewing someone from Allergies UK who's talking about the increase of people suffering with hay fever given climate change.
Ask them what I can do, because I've had enough of it this year already. What do I need?
Honestly, it's one I would never have looked out, but they contacted the station and they forwarded on the email going, well, here's our resident interviewer. Think it could be a really interesting chat. I love doing kind of something a bit different.
No, yes, whatever. I'll be watching that. Whatever remedies are available, I will try them. So I've tried every spray, every tablet, everything going. So that'll be fascinating. Yes, so do check that out. But thanks for trekking with us this time, and we'll see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you.
LLAP.
Bye.